This is the Note Closer Show, where you get the latest developments in distressed note investing and learn the secrets of how you can control millions of dollars worth of property for pennies on the dollar. Get educated and entertained by someone who has closed thousands of deals and lives to support you in achieving the same. Now, here's your host, CEO of We Close Notes, Scott Carson.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Note Closer Show. As always, Scott Carson, excited to be here with you today. Even more jacked up, we got somebody who is lighting the world on fire, who's doing some amazing things. A guy who's just literally, he likes to ask you, what are you made of? And we'll get to that in a second. But why is it relevant here on the Note Closer Show? Well, this guy is a rock star, doing amazing things. He just got back from Las Vegas speaking at the 10X convention with Grant Cardone. And I'll give you a little bit of insight on this guy. He's a motivator, a facilitator, dynamic public speaker, and a fierce friend and coach. At his core, he's a grinder, just a guy who had a fire lit in his belly at the early age. This fire has led him to inspire others to see the greatness inside themselves, using past life events to fuel their fire. The buddy I'm talking about is Mike C-Roc, Ciorrocco. And he's the manager of Nations Lending, a residential mortgage company out in the Maryland area. He and his three best friends built one of the most profitable divisions within Nations Lending from the ground up, assisting home buyers finance the purchase of their dream homes. But he's got a passion for truly helping others, and that's why we're honored to have Mike C-Roc here on the Note Closer Show. What's up, Mike? How's it going today, man?
Let's go, Scott. What's going on, man? I'm happy to be here, brother.
I'm excited to be here, man. Well, let's talk a little bit. Let's talk a little bit of business before we get in passion a little bit, because you've got a big passion, and I want to leave a big chunk of that for that. But talk a little bit about what you're doing with your I guess you could say, with Nations Lending, and you really being a catalyst out there helping people buy homes. Let's talk about the market and your business right now. What do you say?
Okay, no problem. Yeah, we went to Nations in February of 2018. I've only been with two companies in my life. I had to make a switch, unfortunately. Leave those details out, but took 22 employees in 3 branches to Nations Lending after seeing the culture that they have there. Mm-hmm. And that's the idea that we wanted to take with us on our new venture at the new company, was build culture first, foundation, and they fit right into that. And so since that 2 year, I guess it's been a 2 year mark this past February, our business has skyrocketed 400%. And
that's
so,
awesome.
Yeah, so we've developed, we went from 3 branches to 7 branches and 22 employees to 35, I think now. And we're going to continue to grow this year. We have big plans with that, but we do mostly purchase business, but we have some refi, obviously, that we're not afraid of either.
Yeah, no, let's talk about that. Are you just doing business in Maryland, or are you doing in other states as well?
No, we're licensed. The company Nations Lending is licensed in 50 states, but our group mainly does somewhere between 15 to 20 states. We're located in the Mid-Atlantic region in Maryland and Delaware. And then we also have a Miami branch that we're going to also look to grow the Southeastern Florida region as well.
Awesome. Yeah, we just had a friend of mine who's a very active agent down in Miami and Brickell, that neck of the woods. I need to put her in touch with you for some once you get rock and rolling out there. But the market's done good. This morning, U.S. Today announces that we're on 12.5-year highs of real estate. Where do you see the market going? And you've been around for a while, so we saw that crazy carousel. We were talking about that when you had me on your show a while back. Where do you think the market's going? Do you see a change taking place at any point? Because I know that a lot of investors are out there. A lot of people are, hey, do I buy now, or do I wait, or what do I do? Let's talk a little about that, huh, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, obviously in our area, inventory is still low and building is, booming and taking off. And the rates, everybody thought the rates last year were going to go up.
Yep. And
they did exactly what everybody thought they weren't going to do. And so for me to speculate on that would be pure speculation and crystal ball. All I can say is that we have set ourselves up, and this is what I like to talk about, to create our own economy in our group. So what I want to do is I want to establish a mindset amongst our group that the economy and the rates do not matter to us. We do the work that it takes to overcome any of that, and we create our own economy. So that's part of the what are you made of movement that I have here, and we'll get into more of that later. But I wanted to start getting known, not just in our local markets, but globally. And I knew that if I got known globally and be really obsessed with it every day when I wake up, my team would see that, and then the local markets take care of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we're trying to do, Scott, and I hate to get off the topic of the market because I really don't know what's going to happen with the market.
Sure.
But what I want to do is I want to create an attraction model. I want people, real estate agents and buyers, to come to us because we're so great and we're doing our follow-up like maniacs, and we leverage the success. And that attraction model brings in employees, it brings in real estate agents, and also customers.
Well, and I think that's one of the major things that has set you apart from a lot of people out there, is that it's a lot of times it's a pretty cutthroat one-man shows out there. But with what you're doing, you're building that environment. You're doing a great job, a community that people can rely on. It's a friendly place. God knows in a lot of other places, real estate agents, brokers, it's cutthroat. You know what I mean? Depends on what's going on. Everybody worries about the end of the month. But building an environment and, as you say, an economy that's taking care of the clients, no matter whether the rates are up or down. Everybody's buying, everybody's selling, everybody's looking at refinance for the most part at some point. There's always deals to be done. It's just a matter of making sure that you move with it, and like you said, have an area where people can, in your staff can do great things and get rocking and rolling, right?
Yeah, and you can have a one-man show, and you're going to hit a ceiling at some point, and you could probably make some money, but you're going to be limited at some point. And so we have a business of mortgages as our vehicle in life to get to what we need to do with pay our bills and take care of our families. But really, Scott, what we're in is the people building business.
Yeah.
And I can't build people with me being by myself. Yeah. And so if I can build people and help them grow their families' wealth, help them grow their relationships, help them grow their communication and leadership skills, and it starts to manifest itself into a big giant snowball. That's what I always talk about, the snowball effect. And my buddy Brandon Dawson talks about the hurricane effect. Okay. But I like to look at that, and because I get a kick out of helping people, man. It's just what I wake up in the morning for. And if I'm by myself or a one-man show and worried about the scarcity mindset and trying to be cutthroat and all that, it just doesn't work. So I'd rather make a little bit less money per loan or per person or whatever, and grow it really big than just make a lot on a few deals. And that's just my mindset of it.
No. I think it's a smart mindset. You'd rather build a relationship and a lifelong client versus trying to squeeze every dollar out of them on the front end side and then go out and find new clients. Whereas we all know it's better to keep a client versus to go out and find new ones for you. And that's a smart thing to do. So I love your passion. And, I had a chance to spend some time with you early on. And if you're not watching this video, you should go over and watch it on YouTube, everybody. If you're listening to the podcast, you can just see the passion coming out of Mike's eyes. All right. It's just coming out of your pores. So what kind of led you to have that drive? Do you remember a specific time when something clicked and you're like, this is the route I want to go, and I want to plant my flag and go in this direction?
Yeah, let's go back 30 some years, man. It happened when I was 11 years old. My parents, split up before I could even remember. So I came from a broken home, probably like a lot of your listeners. And I don't remember my parents together except for wedding pictures. But when I was 8 years old, I decided to move in with my dad and his new wife, and broke my mom's heart. And for 3 years, and I'm not going to get into a lot of detail, I just went through a lot of traumatic, psychological, mental abuse, not a healthy environment. So at 11 years old, I was mature enough to understand that I didn't know the word culture, but I knew that it was an environment conducive to happiness and success. Now, my dad was my hero. He had a masonry business. That's why I have bricks behind here. Uh-huh. And I'll explain the what he made of thing where it came from. But my dad had a brick company, and he always used to have a $100 bill wad in his pocket. And I always looked up to him for that. And so we had money, we had things, but, the happiness wasn't there. Yeah. And, so I explained to my mom, I need to get out of here. She said, if you're going to do this, stick to your guns, which is a lesson I carry with me today. Stick to your guns if you believe in something. They're going to try to talk you out of it. I came home from school one day at 11 years old. My dad said, get in your room. And I was like, oh boy. So I went in there, waited for him to come in, and he came in with some legal papers and said, it says here you want to move in with your mom. And, is that something you sure you want to do? They're not really well off. They don't have what we have here. Are you sure it's what you want to do? You don't really want to do that. And I stuck to my guns, and I said, yeah, I want to make the move. And so at that moment, he pulled out a wad of $100 bills that I always looked up to my hero for, peeled a $100 bill off, crumpled it up and threw it at me and said, well, you're going to need this when you're living on the streets with your mother one day. Oh, so at 11 years old, at that moment, I was like kind of destroyed. Obviously, my hero giving up on me, right? But I really also know, because I'm stubborn to a fault, Scott.
You
I
and me
knew
both, Mike.
I was going to I was going to prove him wrong. He wasn't going to be right. I was going to be a better father, husband, businessman, person than him. I was going to light the world up because I'm not going to let him win. And that's, you know, again, I don't know if that's right or wrong, but that's just, I'm telling you, transparent, being genuine with you here. And number two, I knew that I couldn't be the only one in that situation that had been given up on. I knew other people had been, and I wasn't sure how I was going to do it, but I wanted to help people. And I started off by just being a role model, doing everything I could to be successful after going through something like that. And people can see that if you went through that and you can still accomplish what Mike's accomplishing, then you're good. So, but about a year and a half ago, I've been living that life and that fire's been lit. But about a year and a half ago, I received some validation of why I was feeling certain ways. And I became aware of what my purpose was. And it sucks that it took this long to do that, because I was 41 years old when I finally figured this out. And I feel like I wasted a lot of time, despite the fact that really it's become, you know, I've been evolving into this person that I am today. But I feel like I'm on short time now to accomplish my goals. And I'm on like hyperspeed. So every day I wake up, man, I know I'm on short time. I'm 43 years old. Who knows how long I have on this planet, but I need to help millions of people. And that's my goal right now, is to get out and help millions of people. So What Are You Made Of came from me being really big on self-talk, self-validation, and constantly talking to myself like, all right, man, you get a tough situation. What are you made of? What have you been through? This is nothing compared to what you've been through. I also say I'm built for this. I got this. Numerous other things, man. I'm getting better every day. I'm the man. I'm an animal, right? I have these voices in my head, and I try to fill my cup up constantly with positive juice and instead of negative juice. And I'm real big on that. A lot of people don't like to hear that kind of stuff. And I think that they really have a problem inside that they need to work on. But that's where my fire is. And I'm not going to quit. I'm going to keep firing it up. I was just talking to you before we got on here about a little setback that we've had in our business. But I'm even more charged today than before the little setback. So.
Well, and that's the thing, is setbacks happen all the time for people. And that's, I think most people don't realize, the most successful people in their fields have setbacks all the time. It's just how they deal with it, whether they let it sit there and affect the rest of their day, the rest of their week, or they put it beside themselves and move on in the right direction. And then that's exactly what you did. Hey, it's not working out. We're going to move in this one direction and start moving that positive energy before it. Whereas a lot of people, we all know the Debbie Downers in life out there. You know what I mean?
There's the sound effects. There they are.
You know, that struggle with overcoming. And it seems like they attract issues because they're constantly in that negative mindset, right?
Yeah. And I just wrote my goals down every day. Yep. Twice a day, but I always write a quote because my mentor told me to do that. So I listen to my mentor because he's where I want to be and doing what I want to do. So that's how I pick a mentor. And my quote today was on this: is setbacks are like pulling a rubber band back, which sets you up for a wild momentum filled ride. And that's my quote that I wrote today. And, you know, if I really try to imagine that, envision that kind of stuff in my head, like, all right, cool. We're going on back. The rubber band's being pulled back. Let's go, get ready, strap on. 'Cause we're going to be, you know, we're going to excel now. And so a lot of that is, it's all attitude and mindset. That's all it is.
All right. Is there anything that you do for our listeners out there at Note Nation who are going through a time or are struggling right now? Anything, tools that you kind of have programmed yourself, and anything that you say in internal talk that, you know, besides the rubber band thing there, which I love that quote. It's a great analogy for things, but anything that you're doing to help you overcome that, maybe little things that you've shared in your audiences and to help people overcome obstacles that you'd like to share today.
Yeah. First of all, I have a blueprint that I've created of what I use to find out what I'm made of, quote unquote. Right. And that blueprint's a 4-step process. And it's basically about going back into your past as far back as you can remember and writing events down. And writing events down far back as you can remember first, and some really powerful, impactful events or things that have happened to you or said to you or whatever. And you write them down in a quiet place. Take some time to do this. And then what I like to do after that is actually write lessons learned from those things. Now, some people say, don't look back, look forward. But we're made of something. All of the events and things that were input into us over our life, our experiences, and we have to use those things to drive off of. So that's what I do. And by the way, I'll give you a link before we end here today on anybody that wants to download that free blueprint to find out what you're made of. But also what I do is I also constantly read. Now, I know people hear about reading all the time, right? And write your goals down and all this. I take books, like this is one of my favorite books right now, Beyond Positive Thinking.
Yeah.
And this is so like dense of a book. What we do is we have exercise, my group and I read 10 pages in the morning, 10 pages in the evening. That's 20 pages a day times 30 days in a month. That's 600 pages. That should get you 3 books. Now, if you're not reading anything right now, if you're reading a book a year like most average Americans, if you can read 3 books a month, that's 36 books a year. Tell me at the end of the year, you're not going to be better off.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly filling my head with that positiveness. And one of the things it talks about in this book, if you think of a glass, it's dirty water. And you take that dirty water and you put it under the sink of clean, positive water flowing in. And eventually all the dirty water comes out and the clean overtakes it. And that's what I'm constantly thinking to myself. I came back from Vegas actually, and 3-hour difference coming back to the East Coast. I have a little chest cold right now. And what I did was I constantly said, you know what? I don't feel like getting out of bed right now, but I'm going to do it anyway because I'm going to overcome something. So I'll read, I'll write my goals down. I go to the gym today, was the first day back. I pushed through it and I feel great, but I didn't quit. And despite the feelings. So it's just a constant thing where I like, oh, you know, the other thing, Scott, is I know people are watching me. I know that since I put this movement out and I've taken leadership in my company, people are watching me. If you have kids, you have a wife or husband, they're watching you. So every opportunity that you have to make a decision, that should go through your head. Is this decision tearing me down or building me up? And what are people going to like? I don't care about what people think. Don't get me wrong. But lessons learned of how does he react to this? Because he, you know, everybody, I don't care whether you like it or not, you're a role model.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so those are the things that I do. And it's worked, man.
Yeah, you're definitely when you get to a leadership position or you put yourself out there, yeah, people look at you and it's all about walking the light. Hey, are you walking the walk? You're talking, you know, and leading by example. And it's not saying you're not going to have good days or bad days, but you still lead by example. You said you have the mindset and you build a stronger mindset on a daily basis with those actions that you're talking about. 10 pages in the morning, 10 pages later, not difficult at all to do. People need to do that. It's little things like that that build strength. It's like working on a regular basis. You're not going to be muscle bound and drop 50 pounds in a week, but if you do it a little bit every day, it goes a long way in building in muscles, endurance, not only health-wise, but also mental health-wise for you out there as well. Because there's people have plenty of excuses to fail. It's overcoming those excuses to go take action and really, as you like to say, prove what you're made of, right?
Exactly. Stacking wins. We say stacking wins.
I was just going to say that because I remember that from the last time, stacking wins. So let's talk about it. When did you start? What are you made of? Or you want to talk let's talk a little bit about that because you've got a movement going. It's doing some great stuff, man.
All right. So not to promote anyone, and I just came back from the 10X Growth Conference. And by the way, I was going to speak and tell my story and what has transpired since I got involved with the Cardone team and the 10X movement. But Floyd Mayweather and Dana White showed up unexpectedly, and I got bumped.
Okay.
But the value that we received at this growth conference, I mean, I'm telling you right now, millions of dollars worth of value. And so my time, I have plenty of stages to speak on. Yep. So I was actually excited that they came and, but the thing is that about 2017, late 2017, I've started reading the 10X rule, and I got on Cardone University after going to GrowthCon 3. And I started building relationships inside of Cardone Enterprises with some of the guys there because they're just great people to be around. And I want to surround myself constantly with great people that are on the rise and pushing for the, big things. And I've really been careful of taking people that are fighting against my dream or fighting against my stream, so to speak, like salmon, and removing them out of my life. Mm-hmm. Because, I don't want people stealing from me my visions and dreams, man. And that's real important to me. So about a year and a half ago, once I got on that, my team got on Cardone University and we started studying and really diving into what we should be doing. And our volumes skyrocketed. And so when I saw that, I'm the type of guy that when I buy something, in order to validate my purchase, I want to make the people that I buy from look as good as possible and help them out.
Yep.
So I told them, I want to be a case study for you guys. I want to be one of the best results that you've ever had. And I tell that to everyone that I use, whether it's my Instagram helper guys that do that, the guys that help my podcast, all these different things. So what happened was I started writing my goals down every day, like my mentor said about a year and a half ago. And I started writing down, start a blog or podcast, because I know that can help you get known. And I wrote a podcast. So I started doing a blog weekly, writing it up, putting it up there, just get some content out. And then I was on a podcast in October. And it was a buddy of mine that invited me onto his podcast. And I'm like, man, this is fun. But I didn't know how easy it was to do a podcast. I thought it was difficult. And I don't think I'm letting the cat out of the bag for anyone. I think I should share that with everyone. Podcasts are easy, guys.
Yeah.
Very easy. I was like just trying to shy away from it because I thought it was complicated. So once I realized how easy it was, I started putting the wheels in place. I started writing down my goals, podcast, top 10 podcasts. I want to be the best. I want to be sought after. I write goals down like crazy, like big goals. Like I want to be known by all over the world. I want to be sought after all over the world. That's some crazy stuff because I'm just a guy from a little town in Maryland. And things started to transpire and started to move at light speed because of the massive action and the goals that I was putting in place. And this What Are You Made Of movements reached Africa, Australia, Europe. And I'm getting people feedback from all over the world. It's crazy. And I'm just getting started, man.
Yeah, you've got an amazing podcast. Highly recommend that if you're listening to this, you guys will get a lot out of it by going over and listening to the What Are You Made Of podcast. I was honored to be a guest on there last week. And that's why I was like, hey, man, we got to get you on here. You're just a positive example, shining example of, I like to say self-programming to get what you want to accomplish, to do big things. Because our brain is really computer, and it's all about programming our mind with what we take in is what we get out of it. And you've shared that stuff. Now, obviously, I'm willing to bet that when you said you listened to your mentor, the mentor is Grant Cardone. Was that yeah?
Yes, and Brandon Dawson works with Cardone now too.
Yeah.
And then also Richie Dolan. Shout out to Richie Dolan. Guys have been just fantastic to work with. They care. Changed my life, man.
That's awesome.
And I want to give them all the credit because I had to take action, of course.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that they are understanding that you can be successful and still share with people and give a handout or hand up to others. And by the way, Scott, that What Are You Made Of movement, I forgot to tell you this. I believe everybody's got a story. Just like I shared my story, but so many people don't share their story. And the reason that they don't share their story is they're embarrassed by it. They think it's ordinary. They don't think anybody will care. And the fourth most important one is what I fell into until I heard Pete Vargas speak at GrowthCon 3, is they underestimate the power their story has to inspire millions of people. And if anybody knows that and they can just understand that, they will share their story. And so I'm trying to get that word out for people to do that, to share their stories, to inspire other people. And then it also acts as therapy for yourself.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. Voicing and going back, like you said, going back and thinking of the traumatic or stressful times in your life and what you learn from it, that's therapy. Being able to, when we try to hide bad things, it always is a way to find it, bubble up to the surface and affect what we're going on until we actually deal with those issues in the past, whether it's family, work, divorce. A lot of people go through bad things. Hey, it's life. Life is a shit sandwich, and sometimes we all got to take a bite out of it, and you got to figure out how to swallow it down and get beyond it. With your team, what's one thing that stood out that your team has responded to you that's kind of was a surprise for you with everything you've changed over the last couple of years?
So I've always been an animal. Like I've been hard on my kids. I'm hard on my team. And I've always had this thing where my partners would be, and some of my processor managers would say, man, you're being a little too hard on them. You're telling them if they don't do what we need them to do the way we need to do it, they don't have to work here, and we'll do it without them. And I always started to feel bad, and I started having conflict in my mind. Yeah. And what Brandon and Grant had did for me was they gave me validation that I'm acting the right way. And so when I cracked that code, so to speak, of not the whip, the code of the validation came in, like, oh, you can be an animal. People want that. They crave accountability. Even if it feels like you're being a jerk sometimes, they crave it. They might give you pushback, but really they crave it. And if they don't, then they can exit and it's okay. And every time we've let someone go that didn't get on the program, so to speak, our business shot up right afterwards, like that rubber band momentum thing. And so that they gave me validation for that. And that's the biggest thing for our team is everybody started giving me feedback like, yeah, stay on us, man. Stay on us. We appreciate it. I know it doesn't feel good, but stay on it. And that's that's a whole culture shocker there. And that's what happened. And once I had that animal unleashed inside of me to be able to do that, man, it's a good feeling. And I love seeing everybody prosper and develop from it.
Yeah. Now, what's your spirit animal? You've got to have a spirit animal. An animal you think, a tiger, a lion? What do you think? Gorilla?
Well,
bear?
well, my nickname's C-Roc.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, I guess crocodile. I don't know. I mean, I have my driver cover on my golf bag is a gorilla.
There you go.
So yeah, gorilla, crocodile, something like that. But
something like that. There, I just figured because everybody kind of talks at some point. Like mine's an elephant. You know, I like to always think of the elephant. The roll. I'm not an Alabama fan, but the elephant otherwise falls into it for the most part. But a gorilla on your golf, I could see that. I can see just an animal with everything.
Yeah, you gotta have the.
There you go.
Hey, so
right.
And by the way, Scott, this podcast has yielded to a book now that's coming out this summer. It's called "What Are You Made Of" as well. And I'm honestly good. I want to the blueprint that I was telling you guys about earlier. You can get a sneak peek of the book and also subscribe to get updates and news from the "What Are You Made Of" movement and the book release and pre-sales. And that website is Waymo, WAYMO, which is short for "What Are You Made Of?" WaymoCrew, CREW.com/blueprint. WaymoCrew.com/blueprint. That's hard to say. So I just want to make sure I get that out there.
Yeah, no problem. We'll have that in the show notes for everybody as well. Or if you're watching it on YouTube, it'll be in the description as well for you to take advantage of that. And when you get that book out, we want to have you back on and talk about that as well. But I want to ask a question here. I hope it's okay. Going back to the moment that your dad crumpled up that $100 bill and threw it back at you, do you still talk to your dad? Do you around or anything like that?
I went through a phase where I was talking to him again for a little bit, but not in my will here. I don't talk to him. I text him happy birthday and all that, but I never get any response. And, hopefully I'm doing a lot of podcasts of my own and getting on shows. And if he happens to hear this and reaches out to me, I would love it because I have no animosity or ill will. I mean, I've forgiven anything that's ever happened. My dad went through something and he's had his reasons for what he did. And matter of fact, Scott, I don't know where I'd end up if I wasn't in that situation and had that fire lit. So who knows, man? I want to tell the story because I want everybody that feels like they've been given up on, that they don't have to quit. They can be successful. They can use that. And that's why I tell the story, not to ever tear my dad down by any means, no. But yeah, I would hope he'd hear this and then reach out to me at some point.
Well, and I just asked that because a lot of it, our parents inspire us in good and bad. And I've had quite a few friends that had a very similar circumstance with one of their parents. And then they built their business up and they felt accomplished. There was never the sense of, I had to prove something to my father. I don't get that from you at all. I just know that you've accomplished something there. And I didn't know if it had been any type of parents coming back saying, man, you've done, I'm proud of you. You've overcome a lot of things. One
time we were, I think at a wedding or something, and he told me that it does eat at him that happened. This is just like, I don't know the exact wording of it, but it was eats at him that it happened. And he felt that I was better off just to let me go, and then that kind of gave me a little bit of validation. I don't think I've shared that with anybody before, but I just remember that now that you ask. And that kept me pushing. That's like, the fire kind of like maybe wears off a little bit and you get that and you're like, okay, now there's some more gasoline. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, but you mentioned something good. I think is a great habit. I think a lot of people struggle with letting, I hate to say, I'm not positive people, but people that aren't rolling the same boat, I guess you could say, moving in the same direction for you, or maybe a little bit of an albatross dragging a little bit. The more negativity you can remove from your life, so a lot faster, less drag, faster the boat goes, right?
Yep.
And you mentioned that, hey, doing that helps. And, sometimes they're the closest people to us that we've got to kind of maybe not let go, but just, hey, set aside for a while we get things rocking and rolling.
They'll always come back once you're successful.
Exactly.
But you got to make sure that if you're going to cut people out of your life because they're dream killers, you better make sure you go after your dreams, man.
I love that. And I think that's a great spot to wrap up this episode. Mike, what's the best way for them to reach out to you, to connect with you? Besides that link, obviously, but is there other ways that they want you to reach out and touch base with you?
Yeah, I'm all over social media. Everywhere you look, my last name's probably going to be in the show notes on the title, so you can look up that. But also Instagram. I have a great Instagram account that I stay active on. It's at Mikey C-Roc with no K, C-R-O-C, M-I-K-E-Y, C-R-O-C.
Awesome. Big goal for the rest of the year?
Yeah, big goal. I have this Waymo movement going. It's the What Are You Made Of Waymo crew, and I'm having 6-week mentor coaching calls with 20 individuals. And every 6 weeks, I'm going to do it. If I get enough participation, I'm going to start 2 at a time. But I have this first one's just about sold out. Starts Tuesday, and I've given a pretty good discount on it just to get people in. But I'm coaching people on business and salespeople too on how to treat their profession like a business.
Nice. Looking forward to hearing more about that. Well, hey, Mike, thanks so much for coming on the Note Closer Show. Thanks for sharing, first and foremost. That's always a great thing, and I appreciate it. We look forward to watching you grow even more, taking the movement even bigger and better, and then you doing amazing things also with the podcast. So I look forward to staying in touch with you and us growing together on some things. All right, bud?
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate
Thanks,
you
man.
having me.
Yeah. Hey, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this episode. Hopefully you took some nuggets from what Mike shared there for you. Write down your goals. Do a little bit of reading each day. Get that dirty water replaced with good water. And trust me, if you do that, you'll be drinking from a fountain of positivity, and the people around you will start to take that as well and absorb your energy and the positivity. And either they'll help support you or they'll get the hell out of the way of the train that you're building. So go out, take some action, everybody. And we look forward to seeing you all at the top, everybody.